Pitchers and catchers report for the White Sox today at Camelback Ranch in Glendale, Arizona. Let's preview the current White Sox rotation and who to expect on opening day here on the CHGO White Sox podcast. Welcome into the CHGO White Sox podcast, coming to you live from the studio west of CHGO here in the West Loop of Chicago. I'm your host, Sean Anderson. Alongside me, my producer, Sarah.
Hi.
Hello. Welcome in to Studio West. Make sure you're hitting the thumbs up button. Make sure you're commenting your thoughts on the Chicago White Sox. And make sure you're subscribing to the CHGO Sports YouTube channel. We are 105,000 and strong. Maybe 106,000 and strong. So if you do want to join the growing community here at CHGO, make sure that you hit that subscribe button. Also, we do have a fun trip coming up. If you do want to go to allchgo.com/event, you could join us in Arizona, in Glendale, at Camelback Ranch. We're going to one White Sox game from March 5th to the 8th, presented by our friends over at Shady Rays. Use code CHGO at shadyrays.com to get 35% off polarized sunglasses. But the CHGO road trip, that will go to a Bulls game on that first day. There will be a White Sox game the next day, along with a golf outing. Those two coincide, so you might have to miss one over the other. There's also a Q&A that night. We're going to a couple Cubs games, so it's going to be a good time. So if you do want to go check out allchgo.com/events, you can go check out the fun that we're going to have in Arizona later on in about less than a month, about 25 days or so. So very exciting stuff. Pitchers and catchers report today to Arizona, Glendale, Arizona. There is a decent amount of cameras down there. Saw some really nice footage from Mitchell Armentrout of the Chicago Sun-Times. Jonathan Cannon and Shane Smith in sync throwing together off the mound. Very, very nice to see the synchronicity there from the two. Nice job by Mitchell for getting that in sequence shot. But it's fun. Baseball excitement is building. We did get more clarity on the Erick Fedde news. I'll bring that later on in the show. Both the length, the deal, and then the corresponding move on Fedde being added to the 40-man roster. But what we're going to do today is we're going to preview the current rotation for the Chicago White Sox. We're going to talk about the players that possibly could feed into the mix. And then there's some other stuff. Apparently, Scott Boras made a Luis Robert comment that I'll have to respond to. So we'll figure that out. I haven't listened to it. I can only read the quote that was put out on Twitter, but we'll get to it later on in the show. Anyways, let's jump into the rotation. If you were paying attention yesterday with the Fedde signing, we did go into my thoughts on the rotation. I did think Fedde would get around $3 million. He ends up getting $1.5 million. So nice for the White Sox there. $83 million or so now for the current payroll with signing bonuses, so they're pretty much around $85 million, which was the projection from Josh Nelson back in November, so pretty bang on there from Josh. I don't think we're going to see much more from the White Sox. It does seem like right now, the starting rotation, if there are no injuries, knock on wood, will be Shane Smith, Davis Martin, Sean Burke, Anthony Kay, Erick Fedde in some amalgamation. There is Drew Thorpe. He's coming off Tommy John. I would assume that he would take one of the 60-day IL spots, but he did show up to pitchers and catchers reporting. At White Sox on X had a picture of Drew Thorpe showing up to Glendale, Arizona today. Tanner McDougal, maybe if he does have a very, very nice spring training, can work his way into the rotation. Duncan Davitt was added to the 40-man roster, so he's got to show something. Jonathan Cannon pitched in the rotation last year, didn't show enough. We'll talk about him on today's show. He's definitely in the mix, but I think he's got to prove something again. And then there's David Sandlin, who they did just trade for. I do think that he'll mostly be a minor league pitcher, 76 pitches or 76 innings last year in the minor leagues with the Red Sox, working back from Tommy John, started as a starter and then got moved to the bullpen in around July or so, and then was mainly pitching about an inning to an inning, 2/3 out of the pen for Boston. We'll see where he currently is health-wise. again, if he shows out, it wouldn't be out of the question that Burke, who does have options, could possibly get sent down to the minor leagues. But I think they think highly of Sean Burke. Again, this was the guy that made the opening day start, or at least home opening start for the White Sox last year in Sean Burke. So, you'd hope that he's still able to make it on the roster, but we'll talk about it here on the program. I do think that they're ace. If you think that there are 30 aces in Major League Baseball, if every team has an ace, Shane Smith would be the quote-unquote ace. I don't think he is a true ace for, Major League Baseball standards. I think there's probably actually only like 12 aces in Major League Baseball. I had a ranking of top 50 pitchers back in the day. I could probably find it fairly easily. And I say that, no, I can't find it. Woohoo. I'll find it in a second. But yeah, I think there's probably about 12 actual aces in Major League Baseball right now. Skeen, Skubal, Crochet, Webb, Yamamoto, Sanchez. I'd put Woo there. And then you even get a little bit questiony there with, Hunter Brown, Hunter Green. Framber Valdez is good, but is he an ace? Sonny Gray now in Boston. He's pretty decent, but is he good? Snell isn't reliable enough to be an ace. DeGrom, same thing. DeGrom looked very, very good last year, but again, will he be able to stay healthy for a year? So even Woo's an iffy ace, but I'd probably say there's probably 6 or 8 true aces in Major League Baseball. So while Shane Smith isn't an ace, he is, I think, the White Sox very clear number 1 pitcher. And let's jump into the things that worked well for him and the things that really made 2025 success for him. It wasn't just the changeup for Shane Smith. Sarah, if you want to flash the full 2025 Shane Smith one, look at this. And we're having so many graphics. Sarah's in sync. Let's go, Sarah. 146 innings pitched for Shane Smith in 2025. And you just see the great K percent minus walk percent, 14.1%, under 10% walk rate. He was just very, very aggressive in the zone. And he just has a very good fastball. That's the main reason why he was able to last that full 2025, be a successful Rule 5 pick. That fastball sitting, pretty much 96 miles per hour. We round up here. At the show, 95.7 miles per hour average velocity for Shane Smith. Gets great amount of extension, 6.8 on most of his pitches, 6.8 feet on most of his pitches. But the four-seam fastball, 99 stuff plus from our friend over at TJ Stats, and you can check that out at tjstats.ca. It's a 46 grade, but still for a starting pitcher, being around an average four-seam fastball, not everyone is going to be just, at a 46 grade. He does sometimes rank it up to, 97, 98, especially in the early innings. So the length kind of brings down that grade, but you could see that he's in the zone consistently, 64% time in the zone throughout 2025 for Shane Smith, and the whiff rate was phenomenal, 24.8% whiff rate for Shane Smith, and then you can also see the contact on the far end there, expected weighted on base average on contact, 333, which for four-seam fastball is really good. So Shane Smith got by and really made himself the ace, or at least all-star of the White Sox in 2025 because of that four-seam fastball. Now, do we have the April one? We have there was 2 Shane Smiths ones. So I sent too many. We'll go to the post All-Star game one first. So flash that one, feel free, Sarah, and then we'll go to the video. So we'll actually go to the video. So we'll give you a second here. But the main thing that really showed up in spring training was that changeup, and you can see that changeup being the 4th used pitch here on this graphic. And the thing that really started to show, especially after the first month, was I don't think Shane's arm worked well with the changeup. I didn't feel brave enough to ask him about that when I did talk to him at Sox Fest, and we'll play a little clip of that in here in just a second. But what you do see is that four-seam fastball still being his main pitch. Again, still post All-Star break from August 1st to the end of the year, 64% in the zone. Like, he was just very, very consistent with that four-seam fastball. You can even see the contact as well go down and the whiff going up to a 26.8%. But that's because he includes his sinker in the back half of the year, and that allows that changeup to play well. When he does throw the changeup, it does work very well because the sinker is able to play off of it. He throws that in the zone a decent amount. Again, 58.7% of the time. He's getting a decent amount of chase because I think people think it is the changeup. 96 average velocity on his sinker. The changeup is 90.1. So that just gives batters a real difficult decision in the milliseconds they have. Is this a changeup? Is this a sinker? It's either fast and behind you and you're reacting because the pitch is already behind you if it's a sinker and you're thinking changeup, or it's a changeup and you're swinging over it. The sinker played very, very well with his changeup, but the sinker in the back half of the year, 33.8% chase rate, very, very high for a sinker, unlikely as well. 15.1% whiff rate, above average for a sinker, and then a 0.321 expected weighted on base average on that sinker. It was a dominant pitch, and to pair that with the changeup, it didn't get a great amount of chase, the changeup, 16.2%, but it did get a decent amount of whiff, 32.1%. It got hit a little hard, 473 expected weighted on base average for the changeup, but now with the addition of the sinker, it just gives him a full pitch mix, 5 pitches, and you're going to hear me use the word breath when I talk to our pal Shane, but I talked to him about the changeup, how he developed that. Was that an Ethan Katz thing? Was that his own thing? How did the White Sox help him develop that changeup? And then how did that sinker help that changeup? Shane talks very eloquently here on his pitch mix.
Yeah, that was an off-season project for me last year. I knew it would benefit my arsenal. I didn't really know what it would look like, and I didn't think it would metrically look like that. But just playing around with it was something that kind of had good feel for, and a changeup's always a feel pitch, so it's tough to, I'm going to always have it, but I feel better about it now, and probably that'll go away in the next couple months anyway, and you're going to find it again. So it was an off-season thing last year.
Was that pre-White Sox, or was that something the White Sox had you work on?
I was pre-White Sox, but in talking to Katz last year, it's like, hey, we want you to throw a changeup, and I was like, perfect. I've been throwing one. So, it worked out, and they had a similar vision for me as I did myself, and I think that's really all you can ask for.
Yeah, and one thing that it felt like carried you throughout the entire year was the breadth of the pitch mix. I think you had 5 that you could solidly rely on. Do you feel like it's 5 pitches right now, sinker, four-seam, slider, curve, change?
Yeah, I think so. I think once I started introducing the two-seamer, middle to back half of the year, I think it made my life a lot easier, and I think the name of the game is just throwing strikes. You can have 5 pitches. If you throw 1 for strike, it makes the hitter's job a little easier. So, making sure I can spin slider curveball for a strike, or change it for a strike when I have to. I trust my fastballs. I trust my fastball. So, I know I'm going to throw that for a strike.
Were they just easier? Like, did the sinker allow you to throw strikes more? Did it help you with righties? Like, how did it make your life easier?
Yeah, I think with the changeup, a lot of hitters, righty and lefty, just kind of gave up on the bottom of the zone, because if they see it at their knees, they're kind of just taking because they know it's going to dive. And once I had a two-seam, kind of had similar spin, I knew I could kind of start that at the hip, and knew it was going to finish at the knee. So, made them respect the bottom half of the zone a little bit more.
Made him respect the bottom half of the zone a little bit more. And again, the fact that he did get some pretty wild chase rate on his sinker just shows how much that changeup was in the mind of hitters. And even if the chase rate is lower on the changeup in the back half post All-Star game break, yeah, I said that right. Even though the changeup whiff rate was down, the fact that the sinker was so highly swung on and miss was a huge thing for Shane Smith. Do we have the April one real quick? So I just want to show in April how much he relied on that changeup. You could see here that it was the second most used pitch for Shane Smith in April. It was a very, a sight to see, honestly. The White Sox were not expected to be good at all in April, and Shane Smith was the best thing about the White Sox in April. And you could see just how dominant that pitch was. Again, you look at, now I did exactly what you did earlier, Sarah. 41.7% in the zone, which is higher than normal for a changeup. But the chase rate, still a little ineffective, 28.6%. But the whiff rate was there, 35.2%. Adding that sinker makes people respect the bottom of the zone. He can get more called strikes on that sinker if people are just like not committed to swinging at pitches in the bottom of the zone. It doesn't have as much of break. The break isn't as much exaggerated. He could throw that sinker again for a strike 16% more than his changeup. So I do think that Shane Smith is a player that could have a better season than they did in 2025. I think that it's very clear if there is an ace on this staff, it's going to be Shane Smith. Sean Burke does have some very impressive stuff. We'll get to that later on in the show, but Shane Smith very, very clearly was a fantastic Rule 5 pick in 2025, we'll call it. I guess it was December 2024, and he obviously showed out in 2025, and I think you should expect more of the same in 2026 for Shane Smith as long as he's able to stay healthy. We're going to take a break here on the CHGO White Sox podcast. Shout out to Goop, who's hanging out with us in the chat. If you do have any thoughts, let us know in the comment section. Hit that thumbs up button and make sure you're subscribing to the CHGO Sports YouTube channel. We'll come back and we'll talk with the new guys, Erick Fedde and Anthony Kay, right after the break. We want to let you know about our friends over at Xfinity. What if you could have reliable and intelligent Wi-Fi? And what if you could keep that reliable and intelligent Wi-Fi for the same price for 5 whole years? That's the Xfinity 5-year price guarantee. Imagine Wi-Fi that makes everything in your home work together, that finds and fixes problems before you even notice them, like a super intelligent Wi-Fi with a sixth sense that lets you stream the game even when your whole family is online. All your devices working in perfect harmony for 5 whole years. And the best part is there's no annual contracts, no hidden fees, and Xfinity's best equipment is included. And take it from me, you know, White Sox fans, a lot can change in 5 years. Championships are won, records are broken, and then it's all torn down. But Wi-Fi, your Wi-Fi, that should stay reliable, and the price should stay put. So lock in your price today and unlock the possibilities with Xfinity. Learn more at Xfinity.com. Xfinity, imagine that. Select plans only. Restrictions apply. We also want to let you know about our friends over at Four Seasons. For all the right reasons, call 866-4-SEASONS. I don't have a backup singer. The backup singer missed it. Winners, here is your home's heating up for the challenge. Right now, it's a nice and mild 43 degrees, but you know, as a Chicagoan, it will be back to sub-zero temperature sooner than you will like it to be. So now is the time to schedule your Four Seasons furnace tune-up. And if you're thinking about a whole home generator, they have you covered. At Four Seasons, they guarantee same-day installation for all your heating, cooling, plumbing, electrical, sewer, and generator needs with no extra charges for nights, weekends, or holidays. So call today and save up to $50 from your trusted local experts. Four Seasons, they're your trusted local experts for heating, air conditioning, plumbing, electric, sewer, and electric. And they've been serving Chicagoland for over 50 years. Four Seasons, your trusted local expert for heating, air conditioning, plumbing, sewer, and electric. Visit fourseasonsheatingcooling.com for all their special offers and money-saving coupons. That's fourseasonsheatingcooling.com. 866-4-SEASONS. Welcome back to the CHGO White Sox podcast. You ready to sing now, Sarah?
Yes.
There you go, because we're taking the temp with our friends over at Four Seasons. Call 866-4-SEASONS. We're calling and taking the temp with our friends over at Four Seasons Heating, Air Conditioning, Plumbing, Sewer, and Electric. Thank you to our friends over at Four Seasons. You can check them out at fourseasonsheatingcooling.com for all their money-saving coupons and special offers. There it is. Special offers. That's fourseasonsheatingcooling.com. Taking the temp is Erick Fedde. Has signed a 1-year, $1.5 million contract with the Chicago White Sox. Kai Busch is hitting the 60-day IL as the corresponding move to free up the 40-man spot for Erick Fedde. And the real thing that sticks out was there was a plethora of starting pitchers that signed just in the past day. Chris Paddock signs for 1 year, $4 million with the Marlins. Fedde now signs with the White Sox for 1 year, $1.5 million. But then you have Aaron Savale, White Sox legend, getting $6 million from the Oakland Athletics, and then Sugano. This one was surprising. Tomoyo Yuki Sugano, and I'm very sorry if I butchered the pronunciation there. He last pitched last year with the Orioles after coming over from Japan. He is signing with the Rockies for a 1 year, $5.1 million contract. Sugano was not that good last year, gave up a ton of home runs, and now he's going to Colorado, and he's getting 5.1. So the Fedde deal at 1.5 is pretty decent. Again, he's not anything great, and if he's going to give you anything like the first half of 2024, obviously it's a great signing. And if he's bad, you can cut him. It's $1.5 million. It's not that much. So it's a very digestible signing for the Chicago White Sox. I am fine with the Erick Fedde move, but really, what I want is Griffin Canning. Again, we brought up the Will Salmon report. He's of The Athletic, that Griffin Canning was just at the UCLA facilities throwing in front of teams and getting up to 93 miles per hour. It does seem like he's recovering fairly well from his Achilles injury. I'm interested in him. I think he wants a major league deal. I don't know if teams want to take on that project, especially with that injury specifically. But the White Sox getting a deal in Fedde doesn't mean that they have to stop. Hawk Harrelson eloquently put it back in the days when he was the play-by-play announcer for the White Sox. Don't stop now, boys. When you score 1 run, let's score 2 more. When you score 3 runs, let's get another homer, right? I really do think that you can get an insurance piece in Griffin Canning. If he is going to be injured, you could put him on the 60-day IL, or you can move him to the IL. and maybe it's a promise of similar to Adrian Hauser. It's a minor league deal from last year to where if he's not up at the major league level at some point, he can opt out and then go seek an opportunity with the White Sox at the major league level if Texas is holding him back a la Hauser last year. I think that might be the pathway for Canning, and I think the White Sox saw the benefit of taking on the project in Hauser, and I think Canning could be possibly as beneficial as the Hauser signing was. So the taking the temp is they signed Fedde, but they shouldn't stop there. Let's go get Griffin Canning. I think that would be a worthwhile add. Let's get into Fedde, though, the new, quote-unquote, new signing for the White Sox. We just talked about a little bit yesterday, so if you do want to jump into some of the changes or the ways that we can fix, quote-unquote, Erick Fedde, jump over to yesterday. But let's look at his at TJ Stats graph from 2025. You can see that he does still get really good extensions. No, I'm sorry. Yeah, thank you. Still gets really good extension, 6.7 feet per extension per pitch. The main pitch last year was his sinker, 93.2 miles per hour. When it was with the Sox, it was that cutter at 90.3 miles per hour. His velocity has not really dipped since 2024, so that's not a massive concern here with Fedde. We brought up the strikeout and walk percent for Shane Smith. Shane Smith was like 23% K rate. Fedde's at 13.3. This is last year in 2025 between the Brewers, Braves, and then Cardinals. But you see that walk rate. That walk rate's higher than Shane Smith's at 10.8%. We knew that, especially when Fedde in 2024, when he got in trouble, was when he would allow that walk, because giving up a solo home run is no big issue. Giving up a 2-run homer, though, that's the true issue. And sometimes he was able to work around it. If he did get a walk, he was a fairly high ground ball pitcher, and sometimes it led to a GIDP. But with Fedde, I think the main thing they need to work on is arm angle. In a way, it dropped a little bit from 38 degrees to 35. I think that possibly messed with the cutter shape, and the cutter was his best pitch, and I think that needs to be the pitch that is truly honed in on. You can look at that induced vertical break that's right next to the velocity. So if you see on that left side, those faint squares of those faint shades of orange there, right next to 90.3 is 9.1, and then negative 1.3. With the Sox, those numbers were, instead of negative 1.3, negative 2.8. He was getting more glove side horizontal break, so it was moving away from right-handed hitters a little bit more, making it a little bit more successful. And he was getting less induced vertical break, meaning it was dropping more. So, not only was it moving more horizontally, it was just dropping more. And for a cutter, I feel like that is at least successful, especially if you're trying to either miss bats or you're trying to, have guys swing on top of it and create that ground ball. So I think Fedde, there is a way for him to return to success. The other thing that I want to look at is the 2024 one. This is where he was getting most of his ground balls with the White Sox. This is pre-trade. This is from April to July 27. You could see a heat zone, and this is for both right-handed and left-handed hitters. You could see a heat zone down the middle of the plate, really. And that's, I think, more typical, showing that he's able to get a decent amount of ground balls with that sinker going away from lefties. And I think that's where most of these ground balls are going. That's why you're seeing a little bit of like the shape of New Jersey in that heat map going towards right-handed hitters. So that's a big thing, that where if you go to 2025, Sarah, when you get a chance, it's less of the state of New Jersey, and it's very widened out. There is no shape there in the middle, right? He wasn't finding consistency with his pitches. I also don't think that, the sinker gave him that verticality, right? Or the cutter gave him that verticality where he can move up a little bit in the zone and still be effective, where now that sinker kind of shrunk that zone of effectiveness, and he kind of had to scatter his pitches rather than throwing the sinker in one specific spot, the cutter in one specific spot, the sweeper in one specific spot. I do think that Fedde can hone in and maybe find something that made him effective like 2024 to the tune of 3.4 F4. Probably hell no. But if he's limiting walks, he could still be effective. Reyes Pro jumping in and asking, is this a something to prove year for him again? And does this possibly affect how he performs similar to 2024? I don't think this is a prove it year for him. The prove it year was truly coming from the KBO to the White Sox, being like, hey, I'm a former first-round pick. I wasn't able to make it in the major leagues with my first chance. I can't let this go again. I think that he also just understands the toughness of this sport. The sweeper has fallen out of fashion to when it was in its height and popularity, and he was able to ride that a little bit from 2024. And he kind of, with the decline of the sweeper and the ineffectiveness of the sweeper, his career has gone down, right? But he did have a decent first 15 games in 2024, or 2025. So it's not crazy that he couldn't be somewhat effective for the White Sox, but there definitely is a roadmap to that. And Jay Hosey saying, Fedde feels like a 5 when I was hoping for a 3 or a 4 starter. Well, I don't know if you're getting that in Anthony K. Let's go to our friend Anthony K. I don't have many things to go into him with. We don't have the StatCast data that we have with Fedde. We don't have the @TJ Stats graph with Fedde, but we do have this. And I forget where I get this because this is back from December. So shout out to the Japanese website that I got this from. But this is from our friends over it's there at the bottom. Yeah, it was created by Bunu05. So shout out to Bunu05. But what you're going to basically see from K is 28% four-seam fastball. You're going to see a cutter 24.3% of the time. You're going to see a slider 18% of the time. You're going to see a sinker 14.7% of the time. You're going to see a changeup 13.5% of the time. And you're going to see a curveball very, very, very rarely. It seems like he's mainly throwing that curveball to lefties 33 times. And it's mostly a wipeout pitch. You can kind of see there under lefties, that curveball is really low and away from left-handers. So I wonder if that's the main spot. He's trying to hit that outside corner against lefties. But you're seeing mostly a pitcher that's going to try to work the corners. You could look against the righties right there. That cutter is mostly away from those pitchers, from those hitters. Against four-seam fastball, you could see he kind of hits like middle up in the zone. The changeup is low and away. The slider, or the changeup's more like kind of inside and down. The slider low and away, and then the sinker somewhat inside versus righties. And then the lefties, you could see mostly throwing fastballs up and in. Sliders getting low and away. The sinkers kind of fading arm side. But he's a guy that's going to get mostly on if he's avoiding walks. This isn't going to be a guy that's going to be able to get a ton of swings and misses. He's very similar to Fedde. The main difference is he's a lefty. So the best case scenario for Anthony K is a 3.4 F4 with the White Sox and getting traded to the Cardinals in a 3-team deal with the Dodgers. That is the best case scenario for Anthony K. That means that his journey and changes at least have yield some success, that he becomes a viable trade asset. Even it's going to be successful because he's back in Major League Baseball and he signed a 2-year contract. I know he's just very excited to be back in Major League Baseball. His brother Bobby seems to be delighted to wear his White Sox jersey. So I do think that, K's going to give it all he got, all he has. It's just going to be about consistency for him. And if he's able to be consistent with his location, this isn't a guy that has blow away stuff. If he's able to locate, hopefully he's going to be able to induce ground balls, not walk the yard, and just be consistent for 5 to 6 innings. We're going to take a break here on the CHGO White Sox podcast. We're going to come back. We're going to talk about Sean Burke, Jonathan Cannon, Davis Martin. We're going to react to this Scott Boras, Luis Robert Jr. comment, and then we will be back here on Wednesday at 5 o'clock. If you have any thoughts, let us know in the chat. Hit that thumbs up button and make sure you're subscribing to the CHGO Sports YouTube channel. We want to let you know about our friends over at Huel. The Black Edition ready-to-drink protein drinks have been a lifesaver for me. I have forgotten my lunch several times in 2026. Maybe in 2026, you set a goal for yourself to work out and hit macros. Huel can help you do that and hit macros. 27 grams or 35 grams of protein, 27 vitamins and minerals in the ready-to-drink protein drink. There's also protein powder, so you can control your macros if needed. But for me, I forget my lunch. This is a wonderful meal replacement, and under $5 per meal, this is a go-to, especially if you are quick and in a rush. Maybe you show up before your show, about 30 minutes before it's starting because you got so involved in the ringed sport. I don't think I could say the trademark thing. Anyways, shout out to Huel. If you're checking out our friends over at Huel and you're trying to stay consistent, this combo makes it stupidly easy. The ready-to-drink and powder duo has become an insurance policy here at the office. So get Huel today with our exclusive code, 15% off online with our code White Sox 15. That's White Sox Huel.com/White Sox15. Thank you to Huel for partnering and supporting our show. And if you're busy, this is a game changer. We also want to let you know about our friends over at Ray Chevy. Ray Chevy can be found out in Fox Lake on Route 12, and you're getting the Ray price promise. The price you see is the price you pay during the auto show sales event. Now is your time to shop hot deals all month long during the auto show sales event. Stop in today and drive home with 0% financing for 72 months on all new Chevrolet models, or check out their selection of over 125 vehicles priced under $20,000. With one of Chicagoland's largest Chevy inventories, you'll be sure to find the perfect vehicle for you. And as one of the top selling Chevy dealers in the Midwest, they're able to keep their prices competitive, so you'll know you'll get a great deal. That's why you can walk in with Ray's price promise and see the price you pay. The price you see is the price you pay. The price you see is the price you pay. They keep car buying simple. So go see for yourself over on Route 12 in Fox Lake, and don't miss out on their auto show sales event going on all month long for 0% financing for 72 months on all new Chevrolet models. Shop Ray Chevrolet in Fox Lake or raychevrolet.com. They've been serving the community since 1963. Together, let's drive. We are back here on the CHGO White Sox podcast. Appreciate everyone hanging out with us. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button. We will be back tomorrow at 5 o'clock with more reaction to White Sox Spring Training. Let's continue our White Sox rotation preview. We've gone through Shane Smith. We've gone through Fedde and Kay. I think that these three are going to be fairly solid to at least make it to July, right? Like, they're looking for a decent amount of length, and that's even shown in their bullpen, let alone the rotation. Newcomb, who is now in the bullpen, does have the ability to start and give you a decent amount of length out of the pen. Hicks was a starter. I don't think they're going to use him as a starter, but it's possible that you see 2 innings from Jordan Hicks. If Paez does make the 26-man roster, he will have length at some point. Mike Vassell is like the first guy to throw 100 innings in relief and have like a sub-2 ERA or something like that since like Stoney Johnson back in 1910. And then Taylor, the ideal role for him would be starter. Might not be 3 innings for him this year, but if they can get him out there consistently for 2 innings, I don't think they would hate that. So we'll see about Grant Taylor, but they do have some length in the bullpen that they can rely on if the rest of not Shane Smith, Fedde, Kay are unreliable. Let's get into them. And shout out to OJ's Glove, who's finally catching a live show. Missed you guys. We missed you too, right? Isn't that the whole bit? There's only one glove?
I missed him.
No, I don't know. All right, let's get into the rest of the White Sox. Let's get into Davis Martin. Davis Martin is the most solid of the rest. But the thing with Davis Martin is I think we've seen the best of Davis Martin. And where really Martin's struggles show is against lefties. And I'm not sure if this is going to be something that he can be better at. We'll look at mainly the four-seam fastball. The four-seam fastball is fine, similar to Shane Smith. It's a 99 stuff plus, a 47 grade. Throws it in the zone a decent amount of time. Not as much as Shane Smith does, 5% less. Shane's around a 64% zone percent. Martin around 59%. He does get a decent amount of chase percent, 25.3%. He does throw it at the top of the zone a decent amount, allowing him to get that chase. But the whiff rate, especially like in the zone, isn't that high, 17.5% to, again, that's where, Shane Smith does shine. Yeah, people swing and miss at that fastball. It's faster as well. He's approaching 96 miles per hour on average. Martin sits 94. There isn't as much induced vertical break as well with Shane Smith. Martin sits around 14.9 induced vertical break, where I think Shane Smith on the year, around 14.3. He gets a little bit more horizontal break, so my bad on that. Maybe let me compare it to Burke. Burke gets about 18.4. And that's like a really great fastball. We'll talk about that in a second. That's a fastball that's over a 50 grade, where, again, Martin sits around 47. So it's not the best of fastballs, and that's a fairly big issue there, and that's why he doesn't do that well against lefties specifically. He's around a 710 OPS against righties, but then against lefties, it's about a 777. Sarah, if you want to go back, though, and the main thing that's kind of concerning is the changeup is the big pitch with Davis Martin that they feel like they unlocked, right? They go back to San Francisco in 2024, trying to throw the Hayden Birdsong, what's it called, kick change, and you could see that the grade on the actual kick change is very good. 106 stuff plus from TJ, our guy Thomas Sestico, and then a 67 grade. But against lefty specifically, where the pitch should be used against, 42.9% zone percent, which is fairly high for a changeup, above average. But he's not getting that chase at 29.3%. Even with being in the zone, guys are not chasing that pitch. And even though it is a very decent pitch, it gets a decent amount of drop. It's not getting the whiffs that you want at 18.2%. And when it's put in play, an expected weighted on base average of 3.58. So there is a decent amount of concerning parts there with Davis Martin, that even though he does have a changeup that is, nice on a pitching ninja video, it's not that actual successful. And yes, Davis Martin's vibes are off the chart. So we do love Davis Martin. But Sarah, if you want to go to the Davis Martin heat map there, this is from changeups against left-handed hitters. And I think the main thing, and this is against out of the zone pitches, it's not enticing enough. Maybe he needs to throw a little bit more out and away. You could see that out and away, maybe a little bit above the belt, is a hot zone for him. And then at the knees in the middle is a hot zone for him, but he's not really getting any of those corner strikes out of the zone, just to make it a little bit more enticing and to get a true whiff on it, to put it in that, corner, that true corner, that bottom left corner, where there's that little white dot. If that was red, I think we could see a little bit more success from Davis. So getting specific movement on Davis Martin's changeup, I think, would be helpful, specifically for his changeup. He's decent, but I don't know if he's going to be a guy that you look for success in 2026. Let's get into Sean Burke, the guy that I think has the most potential, the guy that I am very, very excited for. He was nearly a top 100 prospect for Keith Law last year. I think if you're looking for a breakout candidate from this rotation, Sean Burke is that. I love Sean Burke. I think he's just a really dynamic player, a player that you really can't repeat this frame. 6'6", 240, a very big pitcher. We saw a big pitcher in Garrett Crochet have a decent amount of success. And I think that Sean Burke, if he's able to hone in, can really turn his success into something impressive. He could be a possible 2-starter or a 3-starter for the White Sox. You look at that four-seam fastball, sits about 94.5 miles per hour, gets great amount of induced vertical break at 18.4.5. 18, I think, is elite. Brian Wu specifically gets 20 inches. So, there is a little bit more of an elite part that you can reach for Sean. But the fact that he gets 7.1 feet and inches of extension makes that 94.5 feel like 97, 98, because he's coming so far down the mound with that great stride. So Burke is really, really dynamic with that fastball, and it shows in that stuff plus grade, 107 stuff plus, 57 grade on the four-seam fastball. The issue with him mainly is just lack of zone control. 50.2% in the zone for all of his pitches. The four-seam fastball, 51.9%. We look at Davis Martin, he's at under 60% at 58%, a decent number, but then even Shane Smith's at 64%. So just throwing his fastball in the zone will be a big thing for Sean Burke. If he's able to just be a little bit more competitive, and that was the word that I tried to use with Shane Smith, was that he was just very aggressive, very, very competitive with his four-seam fastball. That did not really stand the test with Sean Burke. Similar K percent to Shane Smith, 22.3%. I think Shane Smith was around 23%, and then the walk percent was 10.6%. Shane was sub 9. So it's a decent base there for Sean Burke, but it just needs to get a little bit better. He needs to hit the zone a little bit more. But even then, you look at the four-seam fastball, the chase, 27%, and then the whiff rate, 24.7%. Very decent. He just needs to be more aggressive in the zone. If you're getting a 24.7% whiff rate on a four-seam fastball, the contact of the expected weighted on base average of 408 should go down, because guys are missing 25% of the time. It's just a big fastball. It's a very good pitch. Sarah, I think there was one other one. I sent you a random, is it the pitch type screenshot? Yeah, look at that. So this is Sean's four-seam fastball in the zone, and you could see the expected weighted on base average is 290. The league average on four-seam fastballs is 334. Throw that pitch in the zone. The expected weighted on base average is nearly 40 points different than the league average. You could see the whiff rate, 21.8%, league average 18.3%. So the whiff rate's 3% higher. It's about throwing it in the zone for Sean Burke. And we'll just stick with this as well. You could look at the curveball, expected weighted on base average for Sean Burke, 34.6. The expected weighted on base average is 346, league average 311. So he does suffer there a little bit. And he is under league average on whiff rate. League average is 16.4%. His whiff rate is 15.1%. I think there's a Sean Burke heat map. Let's show this one. So this is his curveball. Here's the big issue with Shawnee. He throws it dead red. Sean Burke leaves it right over the middle of the plate. So one thing for Sean Burke specifically with his changeup is moving the location of that. If he could throw it a little bit lower in the zone, or even, I know it sounds counterproductive, higher in the zone. He had some success in 2024 against the A's with high curveballs. I think that him just getting away dead middle is going to be a big thing for his success for his changeup, because he's not far off the league average, but you could just see with the heat map there, it's not ideal. And then if we want to go back to the pitch types just real quick, we can look at his slider. That one. We can look at his slider. The expected weighted on base average 414. So very, very high. League average 315 and a whiff rate of 14.4%. His slider only getting 21.5%. So that slider really not doing much in the zone for Sean Burke. You look at the sinker as well. The whiff rate for the changeup is 19.5. So he's at 14.4, so still a 5% difference. The expected weighted on base average, 414 for Burke. It's 324 for the whole entire league. And then you look at the sinker, Sean Burke, 368 expected weighted on base average, 5% whiff rate. The league average, 10.5, so he's 5% under. And the expected weighted on base average, about 40% off. It's 327. But then you look at the change, expected weighted on base average of 502. Yikes! But a whiff rate of 26.3%. It's a changeup that's very, very inconsistent. So I would hope that Sean is able through this offseason to find a little bit more consistency with his changeup, because if he's able to have 5 pitches, I think he will become truly, truly dynamic. That changeup can save him a lot versus lefties. That curveball is a little bit too inconsistent. Giving him another pitch would be very helpful. And that slider, it's not terrible. The Stuff Plus 104 grade, 55 or 104 Stuff Plus 55 grade. But it's still just not effective enough. Location isn't sharp enough. You want it to be more down and away. It's a little bit too chest level. So he needs to get it a little bit more down, whether that just be depth in the pitch grip itself and tweaking the pitch grip, or if it's just truly burying that pitch for Sean Burke. And then finally, we got Jonathan Cannon. Shout out to John Can. I love Jonathan Cannon. He's near and dear to my heart, but I just don't think he's a major league pitcher anymore. You could see the K percent, 18.5%, pretty decent compared to that walk percent, 8.2. The issue is people just hit the living hell out of him. The whip or the FIP too is, lower than the ERA, so he was getting a little unlucky, but the FIP being 5.13, that's still not a decent ERA. He gets crushed way too much. The cutter gets crushed. The sinker gets crushed. You could see those expected weighted on base averages are 478 and 443. The one pitch that I think could possibly unlock Jonathan Cannon is the four-seam fastball. When he had 10 strikeouts against the Rays last year, it was mainly because that four-seam fastball was just blowing by guys at 95 at the top of the zone, and they were expecting cutters away, sinkers low, changeup low, sweeper away, and that four-seam fastball at the top of the zone just zipped by them. And you could see that chase rate at 31.1%, very above average. The whiff rate, 24.9% above average, and it's his best pitch on contact, 321 expected weighted on base average. He throws his cutter mainly. His sinker is his secondary pitch. His four-seamer is his tertiary, his fourth pitch, not his tertiary pitch. I wonder if you make that four-seam fastball the primary pitch for Jonathan Cannon, and you rack that percentage, that usage percentage up from 18% to 23%, dial back that cutter to maybe 18%, you dial back that sinker to maybe 15%, you keep that changeup usage around 21%, and he becomes mainly a four-seam changeup pitcher, mixing in the cutter, mixing in the sinker, mixing in the sweeper/slider. He's interesting, but he's just not dynamic enough. And another thing too, you could see the 6'6" frame, but he doesn't really use it. The extension's 6.2 feet per inches or whatever. He's just not striding down the mound typically. He doesn't have the ideal athletic traits that you look for. Burke, I think, can really still develop and build power in his stance, where Jonathan Cannon has kind of maxed it out, and it's mostly about tweaking possible grips or just tweaking mechanical things, because I think he's at his athletic limit. So Tommaso asking who makes more starts this season, Cannon or Fedde? It's Fedde. Fedde is going to start in the rotation. Cannon will not. I think it's very that simple. Your rotation right now is Shane Smith. I would put probably K second because they gave him $4.5 million. Third, probably Martin. Fourth, Burke. Fifth, Fedde. That might be the order there, but that's what I would throw out there. And then OJ's Glove asking, am I wrong for wanting a Jose Quintana reunion? No, but I just don't think it's going to happen. I think Milwaukee likely just brings him back. They love cheap pitching, and he's cheap pitching. And he was pretty decent for the Brewers last year, so I wouldn't be surprised with that. The one thing, though, again, I'd like Griffin Canning. I got room for Griffin Canning. I don't know about you folks. I'd love Griffin Canning on the south side. We're going to address real quick the Scott Boras thing. Scott Boras was on intentional talk or intentionally foul territory, whatever the hell it is. And he mentioned that now Luis Robert Jr. being around greatness in Juan Soto will unlock Luis Robert Jr. And that's a bunch of crap, because in 2021 and 2022, he had superstars around him. He was, in 2021, around the reigning AL MVP. And the issue in 2021 and the issue in 2022 was health. The main thing with Luis Robert Jr.'s career since 2020 has been health. The inability to stay on the field. He didn't win a Rookie of the Year in 2020 because he got found out a little bit and he wore down. In 2021, he wasn't on the field enough to even, qualify for the batting title. Same in 2022. We finally saw a great amount of games played in 2023. There were no superstars on that team. He had 38 home runs. He was an all-star. He was in the home run derby. He was clearly a star. Who was the star next to him on that team in 2023? It's a load of crap. 2024, sure, there's no star on that team. But again, he gets hurt and he comes back to a terrible, terrible team. You start to wonder if he's really just there. You can't really blame him if he's not. And then finally, also in 2022, he's swinging from August to the end of the year with one hand because they left him just playing for 3 weeks with a broken hand or whatever it was. But then finally, Boras says July of last year, they brought it to him, the changes that he can make hitting-wise. I don't think that's real. He seemed to be a changed hitter in spring training. I was talking about his ability to swing at pitches in the zone and not pitches out of the zone, and that seemed to be really consistent throughout the year. He just wasn't making consistent contact. And yes, he was better from July to the end of the year, but I don't think that's a Boras thing. I really don't think that Robert's going to be unlocked in New York. He's either just finally going to make it or not. He's always had the mass amount of talent. He's just never stayed healthy. And he could go out there and play some of the best baseball for 60 games for the Mets, and they could love him. But again, are you actually going to get a full 120? Are you going to get a 140 from him? Could you possibly get like 150 games from Luis Robert Jr.? We have never seen it. I'd love to see it, but that's the biggest thing. It's always been an if with Luis Robert Jr., not if you get him a superstar. It's if he could stay healthy and locked in for an entire year. Hopefully, having Juan Soto takes pressure off of him, but I don't think this is a White Sox-specific thing, and to paint it like a White Sox-specific thing is I think, fairly unfair. Do they deserve some of the blame with the lack of development with Moncada, Jimenez, and Robert? Absolutely. And that's why Rick Holland got fired. That's why Ken Williams got fired. And that's why people think that Chris Getz is doing a good job, because he's actually doing stuff with the organization rather than just adding contracts and trading pieces in and out, where it did seem like Rick and Kenny, they were mainly focused on adding to the 26-man roster and having the best 26-man roster that they can have rather than developing a true baseball organization, which it does seem like Chris Getz has started to do. Anyways, that's going to do it for the CHGO White Sox podcast. We will be back tomorrow at 5 p.m. on Wednesday, which is tomorrow. On Wednesday at 5 p.m. tomorrow. Thank you to Sarah for producing the show and putting together our 12 million graphics. I'm Sean Anderson. We'll be back tomorrow at 5 p.m. on Wednesday, which is tomorrow at 5 p.m. Goodbye.
We all silly like the mayor.